Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Rebels Reaction. As always, I'm joined by my lovely wife, Christine.
Hello.
Hey, this week we've got episode 4 of season 3, The Antilles Extraction. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, let's go.
You know of the rebellion against the Empire?
Perhaps you referred to the imminent attack on your rebel fleet.
Where is the rebel base?
I didn't know there was anyone willing to stand up against the Empire.
As we jump into our episode summary, I just want to remind you listeners that we will be talking spoilers ahead, so if you haven't seen this week's episode, pause where you're at, go watch the episode, and then come back. So with the Antilles Extraction, we open with a rebel transport, or at least A-Wings helping a rebel transport, or a transport try to deliver food.
Yeah, an unarmed transport. It doesn't seem like it's actually officially rebels because they keep referring to rebels as they.
Yeah. But it's escorted by 6 A-Wings, which are quickly gunned down, and the transport is taken out in spite of it being unarmed and relatively unassociated other than being protected by the rebels.
Yeah. Demonizes the TIE pilots pretty quick.
Yeah. TIE interceptors coming in, making quick work. And it also gives us a reason for the rest of the episode. It helps us understand the dire straits the rebellion is in.
Yeah, why they need extra pilots, why they need everything.
Yep. So we go back to the Ghost team as well as the rebel commander in charge. And they send Sabine on a mission.
Ezra's not happy.
No, he wants to take center stage as usual, be the leader.
Yeah, and he's worried about Sabine.
Yeah, so this continual narrative of him being worried about his friends.
Excessively.
Yes. So begrudgingly, he agrees to let Sabine go, and she goes to the Sky Strike Academy, an academy for elite TIE pilots. And her mission, thanks to some friendly information from someone that sounds kind of familiar.
Fulcrum?
Fulcrum, yes. And we learn that Fulcrum is not just Ahsoka's name or code name, but a code name for
Lots of people.
any agents that are helping the rebellion. And this voice sounds eerily similar to none other than Agent Callus.
Dun dun dun.
So his interaction with Zeb last season may be turning him to help the rebellion.
There is some indication of that.
So as we get further into the episode, that becomes more evident. So Sabine goes to the academy, has a little bit of a difficulty going in. Her ID card is not read immediately.
It's basically a Nintendo 64 cartridge.
Yeah, that's exactly my thought too. She takes it out of the R2 unit, blows on it, rubs it on her shoulder, and then puts it back into the R2 unit, and it works.
It's like all of our childhood.
Yes. So that was whether it was intentional or not, that's definitely one of the highlights for me.
Yeah.
Especially watching it the second time, that came out more. So Sabine jumps right in. She was a cadet at a Mandalorian academy, so she's the best of the best, knows a lot of the procedures for the Empire, so
fits right in.
Yeah, her cover's probably not going to be blown until, in a simulation, she disobeys orders.
Correct. She does not gun down an unarmed ship.
Yeah, so this is where we meet Wedge, as well as a couple of the other pilots, but This is really where the ball gets rolling as far as Sabine starting to fulfill her mission and try to get these pilots out.
Yeah, she quickly identifies them. Doesn't take long, and pretty much immediately once she identifies them, the general and Agent Callis come to figure out who the pilots are who are plan to defect, and it all starts going really quick from there.
Yeah, so Governor Price and Agent Callis show up looking for who ISB thinks will defect. And it's interesting that Callis is a part of this. I wonder if he tipped off Price or otherwise because he wants to be there to help.
Possibly.
Or not.
Or it could not be him, but it seems like it is. Fulcrum, that is.
Yes. So...
and he also, in his investigation, officially doesn't find anything.
Yeah, so Callis does his investigation, tells Governor Price, that he can't find anything. Price says, okay, I'm going to show you how it's done, and sets up a trap.
It's a trap!
It's a trap.
Yes, I won't.
Hard not to say.
I won't do an Akbar imitation there for us. So the cadets are sent out on a training mission, a practice dogfight. Ezra and Kanan show up in a rebel transport, trying to get them to escape in their TIE fighters as Sabine, Wedge, Hobby, and Rake make their way to Ezra and Kanan. The trap is set, and their TIE fighters are disabled.
They blow off the wings.
Yeah, I didn't know they could do that.
Me either, but it was brilliant because they're just these floating pods that have no control whatsoever anymore.
So the TIE interceptors that are in space along with the cadets are ordered to take out one of the pods by Governor Price, and we lose Rake.
Poor guy.
Yeah, he didn't seem like he trusted Sabine too much.
Yeah, didn't trust the rebels, didn't trust the Imperials, and he's clearly right.
Yes. So this is one of the instances that this season has happened more often than not, is at least the first attempt at the mission is not successful.
Yeah.
Which is something that I like. And in the first 2 seasons, it seemed like Callis was just inept and...
things were so easy for them.
Yes. So it's good to see a little bit more of a struggle to accomplish the mission.
But it is sad to see a guy die.
Yes. And I think that's going to be a common theme throughout this season.
Yeah. And kind of unusual for Star Wars to show you some personality of the person that's about to die beforehand. Like they do a little bit, but usually you don't have such an emotional connection to the person who's about to die. They only do people who are side characters, which this guy's a side character, but they show you a little bit of his personality ahead of time.
Yeah, so he's not a faceless stormtrooper or droid.
Yeah.
He's someone that is trying to accomplish something that we as the audience are on board with, for the most part, I think.
I'd assume so.
Yeah.
Unless we have some Imperials out there.
Yes, which I'm sure we do. So the escape nets a loss of one of the pilots trying to escape and lands everybody in jail. Sabine's identity is revealed. Wedge and Hobby are thrown into a separate cell, and we get a showdown.
Sabine's awesome and wins.
Yeah, so Governor Price, as she tries to interrogate Sabine escapes her captors, inept stormtroopers.
Naturally.
And we get a showdown, a throwdown.
Literally a fist fight.
Yes, between Sabine and Governor Price. Governor Price mentions Sabine's Mandalorian heritage, which I think is a little bit of a foreboding for future episodes as we get a little bit more influence of Mandalore within this season. And Sabine seems very proud of her Mandalorian heritage and her training.
And her clan.
Yes, as a result. So she escapes. Governor Price takes a blaster and frees Hobby and Wedge as they're trying to come up with a plan to free themselves and save Sabine.
Yeah.
So it was fun to see Sabine really take charge of the situation, She kind of finds the boys entertaining. Is, oh, nice try. You're just kind of talking about what you were going to do, but I actually did it.
Yeah.
So they then run and are blocked off in a hallway by blast doors, and none other than Agent Callus shows up.
Dun dun dun. Sabine almost shoots him.
Yes, he says don't shoot. Sabine asks for a reason, and he helps them.
He does.
Which is a change of character for him. It's something I think we've seen coming, but
it's nice to see the fruit of that.
yes. And as Sabine and the boys run away, he says, "Tell Zeb we're even." Well, he uses Zeb's full name, but
Gara Zeb Aurelius.
yes. So their interactions on the Ice Moon definitely struck a chord, and at the very least, he's trying to repay a debt, if not a full change of heart, which will be an interesting thing to see as the season goes on and his involvement overall.
Yeah, I really like how his character is evolving.
Yeah, going from someone that was a hardliner for the Empire to a soft
And terrible at his job.
Yeah, seemingly so, to someone that is sympathetic to the cause, if not maybe outright a defector himself eventually.
Possibly.
We'll see. So the Sabine and Javi and Wedge jump into a TIE bomber, not exactly the fastest ship, and they are chased down by one of the characters that I really liked and I think is going to be involved more so this season because they seem to feature him quite a bit. Valt Scaris.
Is he supposed to scare us?
He might be. I think that's how you say his name. So he is seems to be the elite or at least lead TIE interceptor pilot, and he chases after them, nearly
And he's good.
Yes, nearly disabling them in their TIE bomber. But out of the clouds,
Who shows up?
it's Ezra and Kanan, which to me didn't make a whole lot of sense because if Sky Striker base or academy could know that they jumped into the system when they jumped to light speed out to get out of the system when they were under attack, almost the first attempted escape, but they jumped back in undetected.
Yeah, I don't know how that worked. And just happened to know exactly where Sabine was. I mean, they have the Force, but that was highly skilled, if not highly impossible.
Just a fortunate happenstance.
The Force was with them.
Yes. So they latch on to the transport and they jump to hyperspace just in the nick of time.
Dun dun dun.
And that
As always.
that more or less ends the episode. We get an iconic line, I think, and one that we're going to hear maybe continually from Commander Sato.
Welcome to the Rebellion.
Welcome to the Rebellion. And then the episode ends as credits are rolling.
Super awesome music video.
Yes, which we may get a taste of at the end of this episode if you haven't heard it yet. But overall, I think a strong episode. One, it's good to see Sabine really taking a lead.
Yeah, I really like that she's getting more involved. She's obviously been involved in every mission so far, but she's a side character in each one, which is, except the one episode where it goes to, they see Mandalorians,
Yeah.
but they even kind of point that out at the beginning of the episode when Hera says Sabine's the least recognizable of the crew, and that's probably totally true.
Yeah, she's always wearing her helmet.
Yeah, that helps.
It was good for me to. I really like what they're doing is they're connecting in original trilogy characters, both Wedge and Hobby.
Yeah.
Especially Wedge, as he continues to play a role in all three original trilogy movies, and then beyond as we get to see him in some of the novelizations
Aftermath
as well.
and,
Yeah. So that was a good thing for me. I did like seeing the turmoil in Ezra still.
Yeah.
I'm
There's a little bit left still.
Well, and I think that's going to persist.
Yeah.
I want to see it persist as he continues to battle with this struggle that he has, and Kanan tries to lead him seemingly to the light.
Yeah.
In this episode, the lesson was don't worry about things you can't control.
Yeah.
Which I think is a good life lesson for all of us.
That is true.
But one that Ezra definitely needs to learn himself. And it's interesting just to see this continued wrestling he has and the anger that comes out as a result.
Yeah. His fear for his friends and his wanting to control their fates, essentially.
Yeah. So that, and I mean, we got to talk about this Sabine versus Price throwdown.
That was so cool.
Yeah. I did not see it coming.
I didn't either.
And we haven't gotten really a taste of Price outside of sort of this high-ranking official.
Yeah, she's been very, very imperial, very rigid, very austere, very intense, but we haven't seen her in a combat role yet.
Yeah, so it was fun to see Sabine in a role that we've seen her multiple times in terms of hand-to-hand combat, but it wasn't an easy fight.
Mm-mm.
And it was one that, I mean, it went on just long enough to really kind of get a feel for how good Price may be.
Yeah.
How strong Sabine actually is.
Yeah.
And just enough time to really kind of cheer for Sabine.
Yeah. And she wins, of course.
She does. But not after a little bit of struggle.
Yeah, it's definitely not easy, not a one punch and done kind of thing.
Yeah. And then the last thing that I really liked was Callus having this change of heart, or not following orders to a T, and even the hard time that Sabine gives him.
Yeah, the whole time Sabine's making snippy comments about him not being able to fulfill his job.
Yeah.
And like, why would we trust you? What are you doing here? She doesn't just jump on board with him being on her side.
Yeah, which, I mean, makes sense that he's done little to nothing to prove.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't think that they're cueing any of the characters into it fulcrum potentially being Callus.
I would assume not.
Except maybe Hera and Sato.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see, or to find out the kinds of things that go on in Hera's head at some point, if we do get insight into that, because she seems to know a lot about a lot, but she doesn't let much of it out.
No, not at all. So that's an interesting piece to really kind of wrestle with. And I saw on Twitter one of our podcasting friends mentioned that perhaps Cassian Andor, one of the characters in Rogue One, was a fulcrum type character.
Oh.
Based on his line in the trailer, I've been recruiting for the rebellion for a long time.
Oh.
And his friend being a former Imperial droid. So this indication that there may be multiple fulcrums,
Yeah.
and they could be embedded in the Empire, is very intriguing.
Which would be super cool.
So again, I think a great opportunity to tie things into Rogue One and Rebels, as their timelines seem to be converging very quickly.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see that. I'm excited that we're getting more of the original trilogy characters being introduced.
The main storyline's coming up more.
Yeah. But for me, the two things that really stuck out as probably could have been better were, one, Ezra and Kanan showing up out of nowhere and just happened to be in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
That wasn't as fulfilling of an escape as I think it could have been. It's hard with that 20, 25-minute time limit.
It was cool seeing it happen, but it wasn't necessarily realistic.
Yeah, based on the experience we had earlier in the episode.
Where they fail.
Yeah, and they're just going to send one TIE Interceptor pilot after these escapees again.
Yeah.
Probably not, but it drove the story. So,
it does.
I mean, we can't complain too much. The other thing that I thought wasn't as strong in this episode was the number of pilots that they get out.
Yeah. 2.
We end up with 2. So we went to all this trouble. At maximum, we would have gotten 3.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, the payoff wasn't really worth the effort, I guess.
Potential danger losing everybody.
Yes, these pilots may be the elite cadets of the Empire, but, I mean, Wedge probably pays. I mean, in the end, we probably get more out of Wedge.
Yeah,
in terms
he ends
of,
up very important.
Yeah, he's another thing that I will have to credit to someone on Twitter that I can't remember who it was, but Wedge being undefeated against Death Stars.
There you go.
So, I mean, you want a pilot like that
Yeah.
on your side, but the overall payoff for the mission didn't seem to negate the cost or equal the cost, and did not exactly fulfill the loss that we had at the beginning of the episode. They lost 6 A-wings,
Yeah.
and we get 2 pilots in the
Yeah.
end. They may be very good pilots and much better than the pilots that were lost at the
But
beginning of the
still.
episode, but for me, I mean, if we had gotten 5 or 6 pilots, maybe a little bit more of a payoff there.
Yeah. And at this point, Wedge is still really boyish and naive, so he's not... I mean, I think he's talented as a pilot, but it probably takes years worth of... I mean, not years, but a lot more experience before he gets to be the pilot that we know him as in the original trilogy.
Yeah. So for me, those were my likes, or what worked and what could have worked better. Anything on anything that you saw on either of those that you wanted to add?
Well, something that bothered me that it shouldn't really bother me because I think it's necessary, but I think it's also kind of dumb. When Sabine's in the academy, or she's a cadet, she keeps taking her helmet off, which is necessary sort of for us to identify which one she is.
Yeah.
But that makes her stand out a ton, and she's supposed to be doing spy work, so that doesn't really help.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of funny that a lot of the other cadets either never took off their helmets or rarely took off their helmets.
Yeah, we only see her face, Wedge, Hobby, and Rake. They're the only people whose faces we see.
Yeah. Well, from an animation standpoint, I'm sure it was just easier to have the same look.
Yeah.
But we have TIE pilots getting into bed
Yeah,
with
their
their
helmets, on.
So if you watch in the background early on in the academy, there's some interesting situations that you're kind of like, really?
Yeah. So, I mean, in that context, if there's one person who keeps taking her helmet off, she'll be a little bit more visible.
Yeah. But, I mean, obviously not
Not a huge deal,
Yeah.
but just something that annoyed me a little bit.
Yeah. Anything else?
I can't decide if I like this or if I dislike it, but Ezra being so worried about Sabine kind of is reminiscent to me of when they first met and he had kind of had feelings for her and he kept hitting on her the first season.
Yeah.
I don't know if his extra worry for her is because he has romantic feelings for her or because he just wants to be in control and he's not. And that's hard for him, or it's a combo of both. But him having romantic feelings as a Jedi could be interesting, just like Kanan possibly having romantic feelings for Hera could be interesting.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, I definitely took that interaction or that feeling that comes out for Ezra as wanting to be in control.
Okay.
And not being in control.
Yeah.
Since Kanan's been hurt or disabled, he's taken so much more of a leadership role, and he wants to continue to do that because he feels like he's the most powerful, he's the most capable.
Yeah.
So he wants to be in control of every situation. That power that he has, he wants to use.
Yeah. And I think it's also, in a more compassionate standpoint, he is protective of the people he loves, and he'd rather it be him that's in the danger than someone that he loves being in danger.
Yeah. So I think it's something that's going to persist. And as I'm sure we'll see Maul again,
Yeah.
maybe even hopefully multiple times this season,
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see how that's drawn out more and more, as we will likely see Thrawn again, how he draws that out of Ezra, whether they interact directly or not. But I think they're going to continue to put the team in vulnerable situations in which Ezra feels like he needs to take the lead on and be in control of.
Potentially more and more dangerous, because it seems like as we're going through season 3, they're in more danger than they've ever been.
Yeah, which I
more
think
legit danger.
Yeah, and it makes sense as the rebellion builds, so does the danger.
Yeah.
The Empire's taking it more seriously.
Yeah.
As we wrap up, anything else?
Well, I like this. It was scary, but I like it. How Ezra and Kanan actually leave Sabine when they're getting shot at, their ship's about to be destroyed. So they actually jump to hyperspace.
Yeah.
And leave Sabine there, and she gets caught. And it's finally like, okay, something didn't go right, and that's good. It's scary and weird, and it's kind of shocking to see them actually basically abandon her for now.
Yeah.
But I think from a story standpoint, it's necessary for that to happen sometimes.
It's definitely building more of a climax and this challenging situation that continues, and I think we're getting a little bit of a rhythm in that way in each episode, where there's a challenging piece, and whether it's Thrawn and saying, okay, back off, this isn't the right time,
Yeah.
to this episode with Sabine being oh so close, but if Kanan and Ezra don't leave, they're likely...
all of them will die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, a good thing as far from a story standpoint, a sad thing as far as our love for the characters.
Yeah. I was also, I like it from a story standpoint, but it freaked me out. Like, I don't think I could have left. I probably would have ended up dying. Granted, I am not a survivor, so I would not have lasted very long in the rebellion.
Yes. So, it'll be interesting to see as we continue to build this season, and I think next episode on Rebels Recon, the YouTube show channel that Star Wars puts out, they showed a clip of next week's episode, and we're going to get more of Hera and her father. So it'll be interesting to see. I wonder if we're going to kind of get these character type studies episodes throughout the early part of this season, kind of like we did last season.
I like those.
But I think more in depth, more danger.
More related to the overall storyline.
Yeah, I think so. Because those ones last season, for the most part, felt separate from what was really going on as far as the story. These ones, I think, are going to tie in very well and are going to build the overall story arc rather than feeling very separate from where things are going.
Yeah.
All right, that wraps up this episode of Rebels Reaction. I want to give a shout out to our good friend Franklin. He cued us into taking a look at the Kanan comic. We haven't had a chance to look at it yet, but we appreciate the feedback, and it helps us know that you're listening. So if you want to chime in on things we talked about on this episode, DM us on Twitter or just tweet at us at unmistakably.sw. Check out our website. I just had a chance to revamp it, so we've got a new theme, a new look, a new feel. Hopefully,
it's great. I like it a lot.
It is pretty fun. Hopefully easier to navigate, easier to access the wonderful articles that our team writes, as well as our mini podcasts. So check it out, share with those that you know and love, and maybe people that you don't really know. It could be people on Twitter, all those followers you have. Check us out on Facebook as well, facebook.com/unmistakably Star Wars. I think we're still on Instagram, unmistakably SW. I think we got a Flipboard set up today. We're just all over the social medias. So find us, share us. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button wherever you're listening to this. And hear each of our podcast episodes this week. Tomorrow, in fact, Tuesday, is our 52nd episode. Kind of a big deal.
Yay, 52.
That means we've been doing this whole Unmistakably Star Wars podcasting thing for a year. Celebrate with us. Join us tomorrow for our main show. Thursday, Devin's got another Star Wars on tap for us. I've got a few interviews coming up. That's a really fun show. Just hearing Star Wars fans, Star Wars stories. So here on Rebels Reaction, I'm Tyler.
And I'm Christine.
And next week, we'll take a look at Hera's Heroes. Until then, may the Force be with you.
A rebel transmission. It repeats. It repeats. It repeats. It repeats. It repeats.
Embrace your destiny. Welcome to the rebellion. He's a Jedi. Rebel. He's a Jedi.